There are a number of third-party candidates who want to run for governor, but whether they will be allowed to run or not remains to be seen. You have to collect in Illinois 25,000 valid signatures to get on the ballot. And so people fanned out since the spring all over the state to try to gather these signatures. Some of the collectors, some of the circulators as they're called, were paid. They put in their petitions and now they're being challenged. There are what they call objections to these petitions. So there's a whole slate of candidates that the Libertarian Party wants to put up to go against Governor Pat Quinn, as well as the Republican challenger Bruce Rauner. There is a Green Party candidate. I mean, just 8 years ago, we had a Green Party candidate get something like 10% of the vote running for governor. And so will they be allowed to stay on the ballot or not? The Illinois State Board of Elections has examined all of these signatures. They look at literally tens of thousands of signatures to see if they are valid signatures from Illinois voters and if they were collected properly. And so in some of these cases, they've ruled that no, the Green Party doesn't have enough signatures. That was a recommendation of the hearing officer. And in the case of the Libertarian Party, they do apparently have enough signatures, but the election board as a whole will meet on Friday to issue their rulings on those situations. The Democrats and Republicans always get the vast majority of the votes, but if it's a very tight race between Quinn and Rauner, which it very well could be, then the votes that go to the Libertarian Party or to a Green Party candidate could tilt the balance conceivably. And so what we have is a situation where secretly, or not so secretly really, when you start looking at who's involved in these cases, the objectors that are challenging the Green Party or the Libertarian Party or other third parties are often people coming from the Democratic Party or from the Republican Party. For instance, Karen Yarborough, the Cook County Recorder of Deeds, is a Democrat and supporting Governor Quinn for re-election, I'm sure, against Bruce Rauner. She's the objector who has been able to keep the Green Party off of the ballot so far. On the other hand, the Democrats are also working secretly to help keep the Libertarians on the ballot on the theory that any votes that the Libertarians get would be taken away from Bruce Rauner and undercut his support. And so the Republicans have been trying to make sure that the Libertarians are not on the ballot. When I called Bruce Rauner's campaign, they didn't want to comment on it, but clearly these are proxy battles being fought very, very intensely and far outside the glare of this big media campaign where tens of millions of dollars are going to be spent on TV ads. In the case of the Libertarians, there's a circumstance that's very unique in my experience. I've never heard of a situation like this where it's actually been alleged in an affidavit that was filed by a voter who signed one of the Libertarian petitions that a couple months after he signed those petitions, a man who was armed with a gun came to him and said, "I'm a private investigator and the petitions that you signed were collected fraudulently by this Libertarian Party, and will you sign this paper to that effect?" And the man named Julius Hooks from Oak Park says he was scared. And he told me that he decided to sign the paper because he was afraid without reading it. And now he's recanted his story yet again and filed another affidavit where he says that he didn't know what he was reading, and in fact he did intend for the Libertarians to be on the ballot. This is one of a couple cases where we've had people say that they felt threatened because private investigators who are trying to check how valid these signatures are and how valid these nominating petitions were have come up to people. And we found out that the Republican Party, which is fueling this challenge to the Libertarians, has hired a security firm that is owned by a suburban Republican township committeeman to do this work. And they say that it's completely legitimate for them to carry guns because they're licensed private investigators, and sometimes they go into dangerous areas. And I don't know how dangerous this part of Oak Park was, or if the intention was to really just intimidate people into signing what they needed them to sign.